に身を投げる小さいもないのなら今日はきっと寂しさはやめるために私は変わるの今までの微笑んだ菩薩をまやかし。
Alright, today we're going to be talking about Scorpion, and in all honesty, I am a bit blown away. I did not think that this character is going to be this good. Like, you saw the title, you saw the thumbnail. I firmly believe that this character is the new king of the science class, and as much as I really want to get into why I think that, I do want to kind of like reserve my opinions on him because I do want to make a full review of this guy as well. I'm really behind on my reviews though. Like, I still need to do the Valkyrie one. I need to do like the Gallon one as well. There's like a lot I need to do, but I really want to save all my judgment for that. But I will like just talk about the character a little bit, just like explain why he's good for these fights that I'm showing him in. And this right here is the Gauntlet. The Gauntlet is like the highest form of content right now, so I love showing characters in the Gauntlet. And Scorpion does really well in it. Like, not even just like for one fight or something. He's good for a ton of the fights. Like, people always bring him in the Gauntlet for their run just because he can handle a ton of the fights. Like this Vision right here, Weapon X, Thing, Dragon Man, Sasquatch, I believe. Like, he handles a lot of pretty difficult fights in the Gauntlet. So he's a really strong character for it. And he's good for this Vision here because the Vision has Surging Vengeance, which means after he throws a special attack 1 and 2, he will then go for the SP3 unless he's like taunted. So Scorpion has really easy access to taunt, so it lets him take this fight with absolute ease. And you have to play it a bit differently here. Like, you can't really go for the SP2. You have to rely on like just the base power stings. But to be honest, I did not think the base power stings would hit that hard, but they are doing some pretty good work. Like, it just shows that even like in matchups where you can't get to your SP2, it still does a lot of good damage output. Like, look at this sting right here. I think I have 17 stings active. That took off a big chunk of health right there. Like, he is just doing really, really well for this Vision fight. The fight's almost done. We've had like no problem so far. And the only problem is that we've been taking a lot of recoil damage, but then again, that's just because of my mastery setup. But yeah, that was a really clean fight overall. I think it was only like 2 minutes as well, so pretty good job from Scorpion. So now we're on this Thunderstruck lane. It's just a really simple matchup. I just want to show like how you can switch his form of damage, because at base he starts with a poison, right? But then you can switch it to either a rupture or a shock. And in this scenario, you really want to shock on Strife because he has Thunderstruck, so you don't have to worry about like losing out on damage output. You can just have your shocks up all the time. But you have to play this one a bit differently just because you can't really knock him down or else he's going to go debuff immune, and so you'll just have like no damage output. But I just love the way Scorpion can adapt to so many different scenarios. Like here, we're adapting by putting on the shock debuff so we can get the Thunderstruck like taken care of. Or like, let's say we need to like heal reverse, we can just keep the poison debuff active. Or let's say there's like a high energy resistance character that's immune to poison, we can just put on the rupture debuff. Like, I love how he can like switch his form of damage. I feel like that's such a unique thing. I feel like that's probably one of his strongest like points on why I think he's so good, just because he can just adapt to any scenario with ease. So yeah, this Strife fight is really slow, but he's doing a really good job. It's just really simple. You let the power stings do the work. Kind of like the Vision fight, but there's like no SP1 spam as well, so it's not too bad of a matchup. I think it's not even that long of a fight as well, but it's just really boring because there's no special attacks used at all. Which, by the way, I love Scorpion's special attack animations. They are so clean. The SV3 is my favorite. I love the SV3 so much. But yeah, that was not even that long of a fight. I think it's only like 127. And speaking of adapting to a matchup, She-Hulk is poison immune at base, right? But now we have the shock debuff, so we just completely ignore that. Like that, like right there, just another example of this man can adapt to so many scenarios just like based on what's going on in the matchup. So now we have our shock debuffs active. This is a paradox node, so we get increased debuff duration, and he goes absolutely crazy here. Like, he goes unbelievably crazy here because the sting debuffs get so much more duration. you can just stack them easily. You don't even have to go for the SP2 at that point. I mean, for the SP1. You can just build up to your SP2. I do go for the SP1 here for some reason. I don't know why, but I just went for it. But yeah, you can see the Sting debuffs are really adding up. The Torments are like lasting forever. The Taunt has like infinite duration at this point. It's really, really fun. And I think I just dropped the SP2. Look at that Sting. Look at that Sting detonation right there. That was like not from the SP2 as well. That's just insanity. So yeah, that was just a really clean matchup. Now we have the Mordo that's on the same path. I don't think I go for the SP1 here because like we have so many Paradox built up, so we can just spam mediums. But I do have the Wag True Fight on, so I can't take advantage of like the really long stun, unfortunately. But yeah, he's like so good for this path. Any path that could like increase his debuff duration is really, really solid. But even then, he still has really good debuff duration at his base. I feel like he's a really practical character. Like, he's not too difficult to like learn. That's a bit funny. Like, I just really like didn't time that well, so he like built to an SP1 while I was heavy charging, so I had to let go of it. But yeah, we're like almost done with this fight pretty much. There, I actually get rid of the power gain and then I charge up. But yeah, this is so much overkill. Like 10 Torments, 15 Stings. Like yeah, he had no chance. And now this is probably my favorite fight. I just feel like this fight really shows Scorpion so well. So we put on the Shock pre-fight because putting on the Shock pre-fight gives us immunity to Poison and Rupture. And I just love this mechanic about Scorpion because most of the time, Rupture immunity is so rare that you can just put on the Rupture pre-fight and then you get the most important immunities active, you know, Poison and Shock, that being. Like, having easy access to Poison and Shock immunity, that's like one of the rarest immunity combos in the game. Like, I think only Hulkling and some others are Poison and Shock immune, but even then, no one in the game is a Rupture immune, except for Scorpion. So that can be really useful for like some future matchups. Like if there's like a really strong Rupture defender, Scorpion will just like absolutely obliterate them. And also I love the fact, I'll say this all the time, I love the fact that you can just switch his form of damage output. Like no one is immune to Rupture, so Scorpion's damage output pretty much cannot be avoided. No one is immune to Poison, Shock, and Rupture. Like, no one is immune to all three of those debuffs at the same time. And that is such a good mechanic. So, here we go for the SP2. Nowhere near max ramp, but it just absolutely one-shots him. So, we're here on the same path again. This is an Immortal Abomination. And you already know the drill. Immortal Abomination is, like, immune to Poison, pretty much. And he inflicts a ton of Poison. So, we're going to go for the Shock Sting. And that allows us to gain immunity to the Poison debuffs. And now we can inflict Shock debuffs so that he can't like bypass our damage. I think this is like one of the greatest abilities in the game. Just the fact that like you're able to adapt to so many different scenarios. Like, could you imagine if Scorpion was just like a poison damage dealer? Like, he only inflicted poison. He couldn't change his debuffs. He would become significantly worse in my opinion. Like, significantly worse. I feel like he would be so much less reliable and there wouldn't be like that much, I wouldn't say not much use for the character, because even just his poison debuffs provide for a ton of use, but he would still be like less versatile, I guess is the right word. So this matchup is really simple. You just build up to your SP2 like we've always been doing. The SP2 versus so much damage, and the fact that it like infinitely ramps pretty much, like you can just keep like cycling it after the first SP2 is just absolutely insane. So we go for the finish here. We got 10 Torments, 15 Sting debuffs, and yeah, he's just gone. So I know what you're thinking, you know? He has like 3 different immunities. He can inflict like 3 different forms of damage output that makes him super like reliable. He has poison to like heal block pretty much. He has access to petrify. He has access to taunt. That has to be it, right? Nope, he also has a slow. There is so much utility on this man, it is a bit unreal. And also, like, to just like the cherry on top is that he also has access to perfect parries. This man does not take parry damage. His block efficiency is so high. I believe it is the third highest, that he just does not take parry damage. And that is just absolutely insane. That makes him become one of the most like sustainable characters in the game, just flat out, you know? That's like Captain America Infinity War levels of sustainability. So we just go for the SP2 here, and no chance she survived that. So now we're here, and probably my favorite lane to test a slow character is the Aspect of War lane in 7.1.4. If I didn't tell you that, though, you would never realize, because the slow debuff just allows him to never trigger the unstoppable at all. So it's really crazy just how versatile this character is, like how much he can do. Like synergies even just add so much to the character. Like this slow synergy with Toad is just incredible. I love the fact that he just has access to more utility outside of just his base kit. Like kind of like Hawkeye. Hawkeye is a really good character at base, but with synergies he just becomes like absolutely supercharged. You know, he gains poison immunity, he gains really easy access to fury, you know, things like that. But Scorpion gets access to a really strong slow debuff, and I've seen this put to good use. I've seen like Abyss solos with this synergy. It is a really strong synergy, and that SB2 was just insane. Speaking of synergies, I feel like my only drawback to the character is the fact that like you really want the Agent Venom synergy active at all times, because it just provides a really good attack increase. I believe it's 10% attack per Sting debuff. So like that really adds up. Like you can have 15 Sting debuffs, that's 150% attack. In like long fights like Labyrinth, you can have like 300% attack because you have 30 Sting debuffs. It is absolutely insane. And I feel like it's like not even the biggest drawback in the world, because Agent Venom with Scorpion and Kraven is just like absolutely broken. He is like one of the best damage dealers in the entire game. So yeah, like I don't even know. I wouldn't even call it a drawback necessarily, but outside of like the standard science tropes, you know, like if the opponent purifies, he's not that good. If the opponent is debuff immune, he's not that good. Outside of that, I can't really think of too many weaknesses for the character as a whole. But yeah, that's gonna be it for my Scorpion introduction. Let me know your thoughts on Scorpion, and yeah, that's gonna be it for me.